A very good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you may be watching. We are back here in the Rizal Memorial Football Stadium following an international break, which saw the Philippines beat Timor-Leste twice. Today, we have a triple header for you. We have at 3 p.m., it's going to be Maharlika FC versus Philippine Army. Later on today at 5:45 p.m., we have Valenzuela PB Menjola up against Don Bosco Garelli. And then to close the day, or to close the night rather, at 8:30 p.m., we have Stallion Laguna FC up against Kaya FC Iloilo. My name is Diego Cordero, and alongside me is former UP women's football team player Alex Lagman. Alex, how are you doing this afternoon?
Yes, I'm doing well, and I'm so excited to see how these two teams will perform this afternoon.
Yes, we are back for match number 23 of the Philippine Football League 2025 to 2026. It's Maharlika FC against Philippine Army to open things today. Again, two teams that lost last week, so it will be two teams that will be eager to bounce back from their respective losses.
Yes, that's right, Diego, with Maharlika FC in their previous match against Aguilas, it is 2-1, and they lost with just one score conceded, right? So I guess it's so interesting. What are the things that they can learn? What are the things that they can apply in this game so that they can adjust and get those goals?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Alex, it was a close loss to Aguilas last week. And when you look at their record this season, Maharlika FC have played 4 games, they've won 2 games, and they've also lost 2 games. But those losses have been quite narrow, and those losses also came against big teams. Their wins naman came against Tuloy and Don Bosco Garelli. So they're on 6 points, which is not bad for this point of the season. They're going to be playing a game where you'd say they're the favorites. So overall, a decent start from Maharlika this season.
Yes, it's also pretty exciting because this is their chance to break into the top 6 in the standings.
Yes, that's right. They are currently 7th, but if they win today, they'll help their cases into finishing in the top 6, which is where they want to be in the end of the season. Now, let's hear from Coach Moon Hong of Maharlika FC.
Today's game we focused on our attacking part. So instead of defending a lot, we were looking to press them from the front and trying to score as many goals as we can. So today's game is all about attacking, and I know they've lost like many games in a row, but we're not going to take them easy. We're going to put all our effort in to make sure we can score more goals and win this game clean sheet.
Well, Coach Moon Hong showing a lot of respect to Army, but he said he wants his team to be the aggressor for today's matchup.
I think that's just the right attitude. I feel like the best way to show respect to your opponents is to bring out the best that you can be. And given the strategies that Coach Moon did say, looks like they're going for that high press in this game against Army.
Now, speaking of Army, they are the team that are currently rock bottom of the PFL table. So they've played 4 games, and unfortunately for them, they've lost all of those games. But they've also not scored any goal in all of those games. They actually haven't scored a goal for 1 year and 4 months in the PFL. Nevertheless, they want to get their season up and running, and today would be a good way to do that.
Yes, and a lot of adjustments can be made from their previous games. A lot of positional awareness and taking into account the players that are just at their blind sides. I feel like with that in mind, they can change their defensive strategies as a team.
Yeah, and perhaps those defensive strategies might do wonders for them because they are coming off a 13-0 loss against Taguig FC. So not ideal to concede so many goals. They've actually already conceded 31 goals in total this season while not having scored any. So they'll definitely want to turn their fortunes around going forward into this season. The schedule is actually not that kind to them because their next games are also really tough fixtures. But you might as well do them against the best teams when you want to turn around your season. Now, let's also hear from the head coach of Philippine Army, itong si Ronel Henner.
Unang-una, nagbago kami ng posisyon para lang makipagsabayan against sa opponent namin. At in-expect namin talaga na ma-increase ang laro namin compare sa mga previous game namin na mga dapat namin i-improve. Kasi from most of the time na laro namin is hindi kami makakaabot sa attacking third. So, ang gagawin namin is composure from defense to midfield to forward line.
Well, there you have it. Coach Ronel Henner admitting that they will make some adjustments for today, perhaps adjustments in their defensive third because, as we've already mentioned, they've conceded quite a number of goals, the most in the whole PFL so far, and they are currently, as I also mentioned earlier, rock bottom in the whole league. But you might as well turn your season around against one of the better teams in the PFL to show that you do belong in this division.
Yes, and given what Coach just mentioned, it seems like their strategy is to go for that build-up and really utilizing their mids. Let's see how they would react and if they can apply it in this game.
These two teams have met once in the past. That was in the 2024 transition PFL season. Maharlika were the winners that day, but only via a 1-0 scoreline, which was scored. The goal was scored that day at the 92nd minute. So Army will be hoping for a similar type of game today and maybe even the type of performance that can kickstart their season and finally put points on their board. Again, it is not a kind schedule to Philippine Army because their next game is actually up against Stallion Laguna FC, which is going to be a very tough way to continue your season after an international break. But shortly, we will finally kick off our match number 23 for the PFL. Again, we had no PFL for 2 weeks following international action. So we are going to be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. We are just moments away now from kickoff for our 23rd matchup of this PFL season. And again, it is Maharlika FC up against Philippine Army FC. Here in your picture is Coach Moon Hong of Maharlika Taguig FC, a coach who actually runs a YouTube channel, which you can actually see all the behind-the-scenes stuff of Maharlika FC. Just a fun fact, he is South Korean, and I saw somewhere on his channel that his goal in life is to be the head coach of South Korea one day and to lead his team to a World Cup victory. Here we see the Maharlika team, a lot of PFL experience on this lineup. We also see that they are lined up in a 4-4-2 formation, so we'll see how fluid they are during the game. Again, Maharlika are not taking Army lightly. We saw that Coach Moon Hong was paying a lot of respects to the opponents today, despite the fact that they're winless and scoreless today. Now we also see the lineup of Philippine Army, head coach Ronel Henner, lining up his team in a 4-4-2 formation. It is a team full of veterans in the PFL. These players have been around Philippine football for the past decade or so. There is Coach Ronel Henner in your picture, leading out his team today, hoping to get their first points on the board as we see the two substitutes for this one. A lot of firepower also on the bench for Maharlika FC. You see the likes of Chima Uzoka, Ivan Oano, and more firepower on that dugout for Maharlika. As kickoff is now fast approaching, it's Maharlika in their pink and white jerseys kicking from right to left, Army in their green jerseys kicking from left to right.
And to reiterate what Coach Moon Hong said just a while ago, we are expecting Maharlika to go for that high press to give in that attempt when it comes to the attack. While for Army, let's see if this change in their position can work when it comes to their defense against Maharlika.
Looks like it's going to be Fami Ibrahim playing as the striker today for Maharlika. Strong challenge early on, and a foul is called by our referee, Timothy De Castro. Early foul in favor of Army just a few seconds into this one. But as you were saying, Alex, adjustments from this Army side because they have been conceding a lot of goals so far this PFL season. Let's see if they maybe have a more compact shape today. Again, they're coming off a 13-0 loss against Puantague FC.
Even with the formation that Coach Moon gave the team 4-4-2, I did expect something else because he did mention that he wants that high press. But there are a lot of bodies there in the middle with that 4-4-2 formation. So let's see if they do have that change in formation when they go to the attack.
Philippine Army are currently just one out of two teams still scoreless and winless in this PFL. The other is Don Bosco Garelli, who also play later. Chance may be here though for Army, but the offside flag is up. That was a good high line by Maharlika in that instance to play the offside trap. Maharlika building up. Early ball inside looking for Aris Torenas, a bit too high for him. And it's back with Army. Let's see who is the team that establishes control in this matchup in the early minutes. Army trying to build up. It's a high line from Maharlika. Ball in behind. Unfortunately for Army, it just goes out of play.
We are a bit early in this first half, but you can see a big contrast towards their previous games with Army because usually they'd have a bit of a struggle going to their attacking third, but right now we see them in the half of Maharlika, which is a pretty commendable situation right now. So let's see if they can keep up with this kind of system.
Ball looking for a player in behind. That's headed out by Enzo Lucindo. And Maharlika will go the other way. Here's Ibrahim going out wide to the left. Kim taking on his defender one-on-one. Cuts inside. Goes for the shot. What a goal. Just 2 minutes in. Kim puts his team ahead. And the celebration, you can see the Maharlika bench ecstatic from that finish. What a shot. We were sitting right behind it and it absolutely rifled into the top corner. 1-0 to Maharlika, just 2 minutes in.
This is a pretty similar situation towards Army and Puantague. They were just above the penalty area. He had that space, no challenge there, and he took that shot towards that top bin.
Well, from that distance, if you're going to take a shot, it has to be absolutely perfect. And to be fair to Kim, it was absolutely perfect. It flew into the top corner. No chance for De La Riarte, the goalkeeper of Army. And despite their quite aggressive start for Army, nabiglaan sila. And all of a sudden, they're behind and they find themselves in a familiar situation, an all too familiar situation, I must say, this season. So that's now their 32nd goal conceded, which is not ideal, especially after just 2 minutes.
Another thing that we can watch out for when it comes to Army is their fighting spirit, especially after conceding a goal. Right now, we still see that spring in their step, and we still see them in the half of Maharlika.
Kim, the goal scorer, out wide once again, goes early this time, looking for Ibrahim, but the pass was just behind his striker. He's going to win back the ball, though. That's good counter pressure from Maharlika, and they're back in good territory. Good start from the side of Coach Moon Hong in these opening 5 minutes. I think they'll be very happy with the way that they've conducted themselves.
I'd have to agree with that one. 2 minutes in, wanting that high press, they surely checked that mark.
Yeah, they were being pressured early on by Army, but they just stayed calm and found their way through their opponents. And that long shot, to be fair, that long shot was quite spectacular. Here's Kim again. A lot of space for him in these early minutes. Early cross. No, he cuts inside. Will he take another shot? Eventually, he runs into traffic. But itong si Kim, he seems to be the danger man so far for Maharlika. Here he is again. Out wide. Has support. Goes for the early cross for Ibrahim. Ibrahim takes it down. No offside flag. Too much traffic. Ibrahim! And it's now 2-0 to Maharlika. After just 5 minutes, the score has now doubled. And it's a nightmare start for Philippine Army. But it's the perfect start for Maharlika FC. They're now 2 ahead just 5 minutes after kickoff.
Ibrahim was the only one inside the box against 1, 2, 3 Army defenders. And even given that, he was able to turn and take that shot.
Yeah, he was outnumbered by the Army defenders, but he just worked the space, and the Army players just, I think they just expected an offside flag that never came, and Ibrahim just lashes it into the roof of the net. 2-0 now to Maharlika, and this is not ideal if you're Army because it could open the floodgates even further. We're just 5 minutes into this one.
As a defender, there really is that risk of having that offside not be called by the referee. That's why at times you really have to consider that risk and still opt for safety and getting and marking your man in front of you.
And that was another chance there. That was Giganto this time. Cutting into his left foot, I think his weaker left foot, so the shot eventually did go off target. But that could have been another dangerous moment. And Maharlika win back possession. They're in again here. Aristorenas eventually crowded out. Ibrahim goes down asking for a penalty, not given by the referee, but this is dangerous moments for Philippine Army. They have to compose themselves if they're gonna contain Maharlika. Here's Aristorenas with the shot blocked. Still with Maharlika. Giganto. Blocked once again. Pressure still from Maharlika. Here's Kim. Eventually the offside flag does go up, but a lot of sustained pressure from Maharlika. I think coach will be the coach of Maharlika, Coach Moon, will be really happy with the way his team started.
They're really just overloading the sweet spot right in front of the goal, which is pretty deadly, especially if you're a defender of Philippine Army.
Footwork there from Dini Otara, just evading the high press of Army.
Right now, you can really see Maharlika controlling the pace of the game. Army not giving any pressure as long as they stay towards mid-block.
Yeah, Maharlika just brimming with confidence now, and you can just see it in their body language that Army are just a little bit rattled from the opening exchanges. What a diagonal there. Here's Giganto looking for Aristorenas. The header just slightly too much in front, but Aristorenas is going to continue to apply the pressure. Eventually, it's safely cleared, I should say. But the pressure is still being put on. And it's eventually out for a goal kick.
That was a good switch, but in the middle, there's a lot of space there. If their opposition just waits there in the middle, then they have that perfect space to make that attempt.
Yeah, Maharlika are just winning the midfield battle at the moment. And you know what they say, if you win the midfield battle in football, you're able to control the rest of the match. Army just opting to slow down the game a little bit here. They're going to go long from this goal kick because they've been a little bit stunned in these opening exchanges, and they find themselves 2-0 down. That's now 33 goals conceded for Philippine Army, and they haven't scored in the PFL for a year and 4 months, as pointed out by our colleague Jim Hangamlang. Army, maybe they have a chance here. They're through on goal. Could they score their first in this season of the PFL? Cuts inside. The shot eventually comes in, and it's blocked by Mike Menzi, and it's out for a corner. The shot maybe just a little bit late there from Army because there was a moment of opening.
He hesitated a bit there in front of the goal.
That was Nico Palacio. And if you're Army, you'll be saying to yourself, sayang, because there was a split second where Palacio had no one in front of him. Eventually, Mike Menzi does make the block, and it's a corner to Army, but it could have been so much more.
In those times when you really want that shot, you kind of hesitate because you want it to get towards the back of the net. But they have another chance right now because of their corner.
Corner is sent in. It's an outswinger met by an Army player, but it's Gonna go out for a goal kick, I believe. And Maharlika just escaped that moment of pressure. Army nearly getting their first goal of this PFL season. Ronel Henner, head coach of Philippine Army, in your picture. Kang Yung-suk finding Ibrahim. Loses out, and it's back with Army. I think if you're Army, you'll be saying to yourself, we've not started well, but we need to get the next goal, because the next goal of this match, if there is one, will be the most important, as it will dictate the rest of the 90 minutes. High pressure from Ibrahim. Army, will they go long? Oh, good dribble here. Army almost able to play out, but now they're light at the back. Here's Ibrahim, back to Kim. Pass just slightly overhit, and that will roll out for a goal kick. But that was a dangerous moment, actually, because Army were light at the back. Just a bit lucky there that Ibrahim couldn't find Kim with a proper pass. Again, high pressure from Maharlika. Army trapped in their own half, and they concede a throw-in. Alex, as a former player, you would probably know, but how tough is it to be in a situation like Army's when you've not started well and you're behind 2-0 so early on?
Well, the best thing to do personally is to take things one at a time and to really just be fully present in the moment. Because if you think of those 2 goals conceded, or if what else can you do in the future, you can't give your maximum effort in the present moment. And right now, it's a free kick, and the best thing they can do is to mark their man and make sure that they don't go anywhere.
Damage limitation now for Philippine Army in these next minutes. Free kick will be sent in by Giganto. It's near the goalkeeper, actually too close to the goalkeeper. That's easy for De La Yarte.
This could have been a good chance for them for the counter. We see the attackers inching their way in, but the keeper clears it away.
A good goalkeeping there from Dino Otar. The pass back to him was just slightly under hit. Offside flag here for Army. And good sweeper keeper from Dini Otar, of course. Dini Otar, a very familiar goalkeeper to the PFL, spent years with what was then Davao Aguilas, of course now currently Aguilas Yumac. And Dini Otar got 6 clean sheets last season. That's the second most in the entire PFL, now with Maharlika, and given the start today. Here's Ibrahim now at the left, switching positions. Good flick. Maharlika, another opportunity, early cross. It's eventually out for a throw-in, or a corner rather. That was good play from Park, the left back of Maharlika, marauding forward like a winger, and he earns his team a corner. And I must say, for the corners, the height advantage does lie with Maharlika. They have some tall players in there, so this could be another dangerous moment for them. It's going to be an in-swinger. There's an option for the short corner, not taken. Ball is sent in to the mix. Lucindo, the header just over the back of the net. Another chance there for Maharlika, and another warning sign for Philippine Army. Again, I mentioned they have the height advantage, and they showed it there.
They do, and there are a lot of ways to combat that height difference, one of which is to really mark your man. And I'd have to say Lucindo didn't have a hard time heading that ball because no challenge was there.
Yeah, I must say it was a free header for the center back. Here come Army though. Can they invent something? Goes back for now. Maharlika eventually back in numbers, and I think the chance to rush the attack is just dissipated now. Switch has been played, met by Lucindo. Good header by Lucindo, and now Maharlika can go the other way. Here's Yung-suk Kang. Aristorenas. Fouled by Decena, and that's going to be another set piece for Maharlika.
I'd have to really commend the patience that Army has, but sometimes in those situations when they cut back or restart the ball, it kind of kills the momentum towards their supposed attack.
Yeah, for a moment there, Maharlika were just a little bit vulnerable at the back, but they did well to get back in numbers, and the chance eventually did dissipate for Philippine Army. Now they have to do some more defending because it's a set piece, I think this is going to be Marzan to take this for Maharlika. Ball is sent in, it's clipped in towards Ibrahim. Scrappy in the box, a shot eventually comes in, it's blocked. Still with Maharlika though, the volley! And it's Kim's second goal. 14 minutes into this encounter. What a volley that was.
That
Rifled.
first touch.
Well, Kim has now got 2 in this opening half, and Army are now 3-0 behind. Not ideal for the Soldiers, but for Maharlika, it's been the perfect opening 15 minutes for them. Let's see this in the quad vision replay. The free kick was sent in. Philippine Army couldn't deal with it. Eventually, very scrappy. Eventually, the ball did bounce all the way out to Kim, down the right-hand side. He takes it first time, and it's too strong for the goalkeeper, De La Yarte. And it's now 3-0 to Maharlika.
For Army, they did improve in getting those first balls, but those second balls are just as crucial, and that's what made them vulnerable enough, which made Kim get that second shot, that second goal for Maharlika.
Ball given away again here by Army. De La Yarte with the mistake there, eventually it doesn't amount to anything. Army might be in here, in behind Maharlika. Eventually it's dealt with by Lucindo and he works it away.
Still an Army ball, and they're still in the half of Maharlika.
Some good possession for Army. Oh, but the pass is misplaced. And Ibrahim is through here. He's not seen by Aristorenas. It's back to Kim on a hat-trick now. He has most of the 90 minutes to chase that hat-trick. Here he is taking on his man. Goes for the underlap. Park looking for the cutback. Eventually it's out for a corner. But again, Maharlika, every time they go forward, it seems like they're going to create a dangerous opening. Nearly did again there. And they have a corner. Again, in their last corner, it was a free header from Lucindo. So Army have to be a bit more focused this time, not to give anything away to the taller Maharlika FC.
That's true, Diego. Alam mo, napapansin ko yung pattern dito. Nagbe-build up ang Army, but in some plays, sometimes they commit this error and it goes to Maharlika, and then it becomes a chance for them for the counter. If Army is just able to maintain their possession, then they can keep it towards the half of Maharlika and create chances for themselves.
Yeah, it's those transition moments that are killing Army at the moment because they have a lot of pace. And here is one of their pacey players, Park, with a lot of space. So much space. The shot is on. He goes for the cutback. Aristorenas over. But that was way too much space afforded to Park. And another goal-scoring opportunity for Maharlika. Could have been 4 easily there.
That is true. If you guys didn't see, Ibrahim was actually screening one of the defenders, and which led to the space for Park. That's why when you're defending, you should also be aware of your space and not just the ball, because bumping into an opponent can lead to more space for those people without the ball.
Some smart play actually there from Ibrahim. It is not actually a foul if you're screening a player with not too much physicality like Ibrahim was doing there. And he did well to generate so much space for Park. I think Park, even though he's a defender for today, he's going really offensive for his team. Whenever his team has the ball, he's flying down the left-hand side and just causing problems for the right-hand side of Army.
And we saw this in their previous game against Aguilas. It was a bit towards the end of that half, but in this game, he's been showing up and showing everyone what he can be capable of.
Here are Maharlika once again. Good combinations in the midfield. Ibrahim laying it off to Kang. This is really excellent stuff from Maharlika. Here's Kim. Has Ibrahim in the box. Offside flag eventually called. I think the offside was called on Kim, not Ibrahim, because of where the linesman is stood. But that was some good combination from Maharlika. Just a bit too much for Army to deal with at the moment.
I do understand that the back line of Army didn't approach Park because it was kind of awkward the way he kicked it. But given his range, I think it is important that they check him, especially towards that distance from the penalty area.
Sukang driving forward, unchallenged, eventually brought down another set piece to Maharlika. They scored their third from a set piece, and now they have another one here. That was good, positive play from Yung Suk Kang. Yung Suk Kang, actually a player who developed in the Korean footballing ranks and now making his way to the Philippine Football League for Maharlika, doing well there to earn his team another set piece. It's going to be Park, the left back, to take this one with his left foot. It's going to be an outswinger. For Army, it has to be damage limitation at this point, because at 3-0 after just 20 minutes, it could get much worse if the concentration levels don't rise up. Ball will be sent in by Park, looking for a teammate. It's going to meet Menzi, and it bounced kindly to De La Yarte, but it was another free header for Maharlika. Earlier it was Lucindo, now it's Menzi. If you're Philippine Army, concentration levels have to get better than this. High press being applied. Utara not taking any risks and lofting it over to Ferrer.
You also have to give it to the back line of Maharlika. They are very disciplined when it comes to tracking back. Kaya medyo nahirapan talagang pumorma yung attackers ng Army.
Here's Kim, good switch from Aristorenas. Kim, early cross, right into the face of his opposite defender. Chance still here for Maharlika. Eventually it's called for handball against Giganto, but another dangerous moment there. As you were saying, Alex, the backline of Maharlika has gotten disciplined, been very disciplined rather, and they've gotten back quickly when they've been opened up. Here's Kim, down the left once again. Kim taking on his defender, combining with Young Suk Kang. Goes for the clip ball. Ibrahim off the post. Chance. Actually, the offside flag up. I think that was for Ibrahim's positioning. So that wouldn't have counted had it gone in. But another dangerous moment nonetheless for Maharlika. If you're Philippine Army, not too sure how to deal with these crosses. Here's the replay. Ibrahim just in an offside position. So that header wouldn't have counted.
I think that's the best way to deal with that kind of situation, man marking. They had enough players inside the box. It's really about challenging them or sinasabayan yung talon habang nasa ere pa yung bola.
Ibrahim, Yung Suk Kang, looking for Giganto. Eventually, it is called for a free kick. I believe a handball has been called against Villaseñor. Villaseñor debating that it wasn't a handball, but the referee made his mind up pretty quickly. And it's another set piece for Maharlika in a dangerous position. This time it looks like it could be a shooting position, and it will be Ibrahim who puts the ball down.
The pros in this is that they're able to put a stop towards their attack, but you have to say that the free kicks, they are stacking up, which is a pretty dangerous situation to be in for Army.
That's right, Alex. Of course, they scored, or they conceded their third goal rather from a set piece. This set piece is actually closer than all of the set pieces so far. So I would not be surprised if a shot is taken from this. There are two players stood over the ball. One of them is Ibrahim. I think it was actually him who put the ball down. Let's see who eventually takes it. Army having to organize their wall. Just 25 minutes in, could it get worse for Philippine Army? It's Ibrahim to take this straight into the wall, so the wall does its job, and Maharlika will reset.
Also a pretty interesting decision, given that Maharlika does have that height advantage, then they decide to go for that mid-high free kick.
Army with the throw-in. Again, we are now approaching the 25th minute. For those of you who are just tuning in, Maharlika are ahead courtesy of 3 goals. The first came from Kim in the 2nd minute, the second from Ibrahim in the 5th minute, and then one more by Kim in the 14th minute. And that is why it is 3-0. Again, I'm your commentator, Diego Cordero, and adjacent to me is Alex Lagman, bringing to you this first match of our triple header this Saturday. Here's Park. Pass around the corner to Kang. Maharlika building up. This is good stuff in tight space. They eventually escape the pressure. Ibrahim has options, eventually looking for Young Suk Kang, but the pass just overhit. But good combination play there from Maharlika.
Yes, I'd have to agree. All of them really going into their positions, looking for those triangles, and eventually building up towards those attempts.
Ibrahim applying the high pressure. Army just opting to go long for now. Park with the strong defensive header. It's back to Young Suk Kang. Kim. Cross with the left foot, looking for Aristorenas. Couldn't get it under control. And it bounces kindly to De La Yarte. Again, every attack from Maharlika feels like it could end up as a goal-scoring situation. Here's Army, though, down the other way.
And no pressure.
Well, chance maybe for Army. In behind, shot. It's wide. That was their biggest chance yet. That was Nico Palacio with the left-footed effort. Couldn't catch it cleanly. And it's way off target in the end. Dini Otara not even tested from that shot. And the referee is going to call a water break in the 25th minute. That could have been a good moment for Army.
That's his second closest attempt. The first one, he hesitated, gave it to his teammate. Now it was an awkward placement towards the foot, and it goes and sails towards the left. But I feel like if he just warms it up a bit more and gains that confidence, if he's given that chance from his teammates with that build-up, then he can maybe get that first goal for Army in this season.
Yeah, Army have been really second best in this whole matchup, but they've had two chances to score. And that could have been one of those moments where you just kickstart your season with a goal. Eventually, the chance was wasted. And now it's a cooling break, so this is going to be a chance for both coaches to give instructions to their players. Again, as we enter this cooling break, just want to shout out also the Philippine women's under-17 team who successfully qualified for the under-17 Asian Cup. Successfully because they won their group, their qualifying group, with 3 matches, 3 wins, and 3 clean sheets. So congratulations to our under-17. Again, it is now 3-0 in favor of Maharlika, courtesy of Kim twice and Ibrahim. Here was the first goal. Kim receiving the ball deep in the attacking half, but he drove inside, cutting inside, and the shot was a sniper into the top right corner. The second goal, Kim with the assist also. It was Ibrahim crowded out, but he kept the ball and he smashed it into the roof of the net. And then the third goal came from this set piece. Army couldn't clear their lines. Eventually, the ball just bounced out and pinballed to Kim, who struck this volley into the back of the net. 3 really good goals and 3 really good finishes from Maharlika.
Big kudos to them, to Kim and to Ibrahim. Just seeing that spot, seeing that space, and getting that kick, getting that attempt, which is pretty advantageous for them because look at the scoreline, 3-0.
Yeah, and Kim in particular making a really strong case for man of the match because he has 2 goals and 1 assist, and it's only 28 minutes so far in this one. Menzi. Park in an inverted fullback role. Calm in possession. They don't rush things. Itong yung Maharlika Taguig FC. They're calm in possession. Here's Giganto pulling out wide.
And they're very quick to switch the play, kaya na-maximize talaga nila yung space. And no pressure from Army.
Of course, at 3-0, you're no longer in any rush to create any chances. You can build up slowly and carefully like Maharlika are doing here. Here's Kim. Young Suk Kang onside. Through on goal, cuts inside, takes the shot. Saved by De La Yarte. The shot just not as powerful as Young Suk Kang would have liked. But it's another good build-up play from Maharlika FC. And they'll be very encouraged by the amount of chances they've had in these opening 30 minutes. Chance may be here for Army, but the foul called. No advantage played. It's a free kick in favor of Army. Menzi with the foul on Ariola. Maybe an attacking set piece here for Philippine Army. Again, for Philippine Army, they now have a minus goal difference of minus 34. But can they put themselves on the scoreboard today? It's now 5 matches this season. It's a long time to go without scoring a goal. They have a set piece here to do that. Ball sent in, it's straight to Ferrer.
They still have a chance. They're inside the half still. It's a one-man team right now towards the side.
Oh, cross eventually worked in. It's too close though. Lutini Otara, that's no problem for the goalkeeper. And the chance eventually fizzles out for Philippine Army.
It's also one of the first few times that Maharlika's keeper held the ball from one of their attempts.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Again, a good pass actually to Giganto. I'll get back to that in a moment. Giganto, will he keep this in? He does. One-on-one down the right. Giganto eventually goes back to Ferrer. Here's Aristorenas. Cross, too close to De La Yarte. But Ibrahim was lurking and he was unguarded for a moment there.
Yun din ang napapansin ko sa Army. Nagagawa nila, kaya nilang magbantay ng tao. But what they really need is that discipline and consistency in sticking towards their man.
Nearly another pass there in behind Maharlika, but they work it clear. Here's Ibrahim. Kim has a player in the middle. Tries to look for him, but it's too close to the goalkeeper. A lot of action here for John Kent De La Yarte, the goalkeeper of Philippine Army. Much the more busier goalkeeper compared to Dini Otara. And as you mentioned, Alex, Dini Otara has not yet had to make a save. Army have had chances, but they've not been able to put those on target. So Otara has been quite not so busy in this first half, must be said. I think if you're Army, you have to manage or micromanage this game now. A bit more of damage limitation needs to be done, because for the opening 15 minutes, they were completely open. I think if you have to take the silver lining, the next 15 minutes, they've not conceded. Such is their goal difference at the moment, that they have to take those silver linings. Foul there, called on Aristorenas. Aristorenas actually going down. And actually, there's a yellow card in that for Aristorenas. That's the game's first yellow card. And that's the 6th yellow card of the season for Maharlika. Goes to their captain, Aristorenas. And he actually, despite getting the yellow card, he's the player who might need some treatment following that play. Coach Moon Hong is really not happy with that. The fact that his captain has now picked up a yellow card. Again, that's the 6th yellow card in 5 games for Maharlika. And you don't want to get too many yellow cards over the season.
Especially because he is one of the team members that really give that impact, especially if you're the captain.
It was a stray elbow right on his head. He is still receiving treatment. I'll tell you what, that was, or that looked to be a very painful one, in all honesty, for Aristorenas. But there's confirmation he is the one who got the yellow card.
Well, of course, football, it is a contact sport. There are some things that are unavoidable, but you really have to prepare yourself for these kinds of things, because especially with all that persistence, in getting that ball, these things really do happen.
I think Aristorenas is actually going to come off. There's actually, and I don't think it's a pleasant sight, there's blood dripping from his head at the moment. And Maharlika are readying a substitution, so I think it's going to be an early outing for the captain. I think he's still bleeding because he is still receiving treatment. And I can just see there's a fourth official readying the substitution board, so it's going to be a substitution for Maharlika. There's another yellow card, the game's second yellow card, right after the first. This time it's for Army. So the yellow cards are now racking up. Referee Timothy De Castro having to dish out the second already. Physical stuff here in the past 5 minutes. That was on Kim this time.
Isa pa yung kailangan mong isipin, especially if you're getting into contact with the ball. You have to take into account the areas of your head that are suitable or can carry the heaviness of the load of the ball. Because sometimes if you hit it in an awkward area, it really makes you pretty vulnerable towards it. And sometimes it can lead to concussions.
That yellow card on Army is their 7th this season in only 4 games. By the way, we've just had an update from the technical area. The substitution on Aristorenas has been cancelled, so he'll continue his game. Here's Ibrahim. A bit isolated. Again, Maharlika down to 10 at the moment. Chance maybe for Ibrahim. Oh, contact and a foul called on Ibrahim. So it's a free kick to Philippine Army. Goalkeeper, defender, and Ibrahim all in the mix there. Eventually, Army win the foul. Here's the replay. Maybe just a high boot from Ibrahim. Hence the call. And out of your picture, Aristorenas is going to come back on following, I think it was a concussion checkup. Again, I think it's one of those modern rules in football that every time there's a head injury, you need to have a little bit of a checkup for concussion. Looks like Aristorenas will be cleared to continue. Ibrahim has numbers here. Here's Kim on a hat-trick. Goes for the cross. And the goalkeeper unable to get to that. But the chance eventually out for a goal kick. It was Yongsuk Kang at the end of that move.
And Park had all that space. Went for that attempt, but none of those clinical finishings just yet.
Aristorenas has finally been allowed back onto the field. Here's Army. Can they create something? Strong challenge from Mike Menzi. Here's Yongsuk Kang. Kim down the left once again.
Great overlap from Aristorenas. No one's there. Nakaabang lang siya sa likod ng mga defenders. No one is marking him just yet.
Marzan. Giganto. Ferrer. Patient stuff from Maharlika. And they are 3-0 up, so they can afford that luxury. Switch just between Park and Kim, and it's actually straight to Coach Moon Hong. Good first touch from the coach, but it's a throw-in from Philippine Army. Gandini Ontara on the ball now, not having to make a save so far. Enzo Lucindo. Mike Menzi, by the way, Mike Menzi also on 2 goals already this season. He scored 2 headers against Tuloy FC. That was on the opening day for Maharlika.
And he also had a close attempt just a few minutes in.
That was a heavy challenge on Ibrahim. Luckily, he's not hurt. There's another yellow card. The second for Army and the third of this match. Here's the foul. Ibrahim. Very late one. That was from John Celis. And that is now Army's 8th yellow card of the season. By the way, we just saw a shot there of The crowd coming to Rizal Memorial Stadium. Again, we have a triple header today. If you can't make it, continue to watch all the streams on the PFL YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Again, that's We Are PFL, no space. Don't forget also to use the hashtag We Are PFL. And don't forget to support also our Minsan football show every Wednesday before a match weekend. There's confirmation of the Celis yellow card. Here's Ibrahim in behind. Still Ibrahim. Acceleration from Ibrahim, goes for the cross, eventually straight to a defender. That's a corner to Maharlika, but it was really easy for Ibrahim to get in behind this defender there. Corner once again to Maharlika. It's going to be sent in swinger from Ibrahim, goes short, actually combines with Park. Back to Ibrahim, eventually works the cross. It's going to be too much for, I think that was Enzo Lucindo who was closest to it, and it's going to be a goal kick to Philippine Army. Just 5 minutes now until the halftime break. Maharlika 3-0 up, courtesy of a goal from Kim in the 2nd minute, Ibrahim in the 5th minute, and then one more by Kim in the 14th minute. That is why it is 3-0 to Maharlika. Army have had 1 or 2 chances, but they've not been able to take them. Early cross, not a bad cross. Penalty to Philippine Army. It's Mike Menzi with the foul. And this could be it. This could be Army's first goal in 1 year and 4 months in the PFL.
This is the chance of a lifetime for Philippine Army. And this is pretty monumental because this would be their first goal of the season if they make it to the back of the net.
It was Nico Palacio with the early cross, and it was a very dangerous cross into a corridor of uncertainty. And Mike Menzi, I thought for a moment that he had this cleaned up, but eventually commits the foul. Referee giving the penalty. It's going to be the biggest chance, as you mentioned, the biggest chance for Army to get their first goal of the season and to finally get on the score sheet. Again, it is 3-0 down, but it would be a good thing to do to finally get up and running in terms of goals scored. 5 matches into the PFL.
And given the stats, a familiar name, Nico Palacio has been making some problems for the backline of Maharlika, and here he is taking the penalty kick.
Dini Otara having to make a save after not being too active. Here's the penalty. And it's missed! And Army have to continue their wait for their first goal this season.
And you hear it from the audience. Sayang, that was it. That could have been it for them.
Well, let's see the replay. Otara guessed the right way. So even if it was on target, might have been saved also because Otara guessed right. And the wait continues for Philippine Army. If you see all the Army fans in the crowd at the moment, hands on their heads, because that was their biggest chance so far to score this season. In the end, penalty went wide. Chance maybe here, Otara lets it out for a goal kick. Bit of a let-off there actually for Mike Menzi, that the penalty he conceded ended up going wide. And things go from bad to worse for Army because they now have a player down and they're going to need to treat this player. But that was their biggest chance yet to get a goal this season. You're not going to get a better chance than a penalty.
That's true. And despite the frustrations, despite all the statistics, 3-0, getting conceded goals during the first few minutes of the first half, you have to give it to Army that they have made those attacking chances for themselves, especially with Nico Palacio again and again.
And Nico Palacio had 2 really good chances. First went out for a corner and the second one went out wide for a goal kick. So they've created chances actually when you think about it.
Which is a pretty big improvement for them.
Again, they are coming off a 13-0 loss against Montaguig.
Yes, you can only hope that Nico Palacio can keep this going even in the second half.
again for Philippine Army. Their closest match of the season was actually their second match. It was a 1-0 loss to Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Here's Park, again, the left back going forward. Good defending there in the end for Army. Again, high pressure from Maharlika. Eventually, that's a foul by Yung Suk Kang. So Army can win the free kick. I think if that penalty had gone in, would have been a slightly different halftime talk for Coach Ronel Henner. Maybe a little bit more lighter. But unfortunately, that penalty went wide.
But I also think Coach Moon would also want that clean sheet for them.
In Army currently down to 10 players at the moment. There is a player still receiving treatment. And there's the confirmation from the fourth official. We'll have 3 minutes of additional time. Chance may be here for Army. No foul called by the referee. Possession still with Army. They have a player down. So they're temporarily with 9 players. Shot is eventually taken, but it's way too over Otara's goal. So that's not a problem for Dini Otara. Actually, Army now have 2 players down. So this is not ideal to close the first half with injury concerns. And the Army physios, after just treating a player on the bench, having to come back on the field for more treatment.
Thankfully enough, the other player is able to walk and he seems fine, but let's see how Ariola is treated right now.
Well, at the moment, at least for the rest of the first half or for the next minute or so, Army are going to be down to 9 players. That is a really big advantage for Maharlika. Will they look to score in these next exchanges or so?
Coach Moon did mention that they wanted to show the utmost respect to Army. And there's only one way to do that. Not to mention, given the weather right now, it is windy, but there is a bit of sun shining on the field. So that can also be a factor, especially we are down to the last few minutes of this first half. Fatigue can be settling in, but it's really a mindset game at this point. If Army can keep going with their defense against Maharlika.
Aristorenas, Ibrahim. Kang has a chance here. Blocked. Good block, but the chance is still on. Giganto goes out wide to Ferrer. Ferrer looks for the clip cross. Ibrahim saved by De La Yarte. Eventually cleared by Army. Could have been 4-0 there for Maharlika. Again, Army is still down to, they're back up to 10 players, but they're still a man down. Here's Kim, unable to keep it in, and that might just be the last play. Or this might just be the last play of the first half. So Maharlika nearly making it 4 right before the halftime whistle.
You can also tell that that fatigue is also settling in, because towards that positive transition from the defense to attack, their formation, they didn't go up that quickly.
There's another yellow card.
A bit of tension happening right now.
I think it was Yung Suk Kang who got the yellow card, but I'll wait confirmation for a moment. Here was the play. Physical play there from Kang and Desena. Eventually the free kick.
Inatid talaga.
I think it was Kang with the yellow card. So both teams now with 2 yellow cards apiece. And that might just be the last play of this half. That is also going to be the 7th yellow card of the season for Maharlika FC. Oh, chance maybe here for Army. Goes out wide, takes the shot. Eventually he went too far wide. I think Enzo Lucindo just did well there to force his attacker to a tight angle, and in the end the shot was off target by quite a way. So Otara still not having to make a save. And that concludes the first half. It is now 3-0 in favor of Maharlika. Goals from Kim Kim with the brace actually, and then one from Ibrahim. That is why it is 3-0 at halftime. Again, we will be back shortly for the second half. There's confirmation of the goal scorers. Currently, halftime here in match number 23 of the Philippine Football League. We will be back shortly for the second half between Maharlika and Philippine Army. Welcome back, everybody. It is currently halftime between Maharlika FC and Philippine Army FC. Goals from Ibrahim and a brace from Kim are the reason why it is 3-0 to Philippine Army. But Philippine Army had the chances to get on the score sheet, and they had the biggest chance right before halftime, a missed penalty to keep it scoreless for Philippine Army, I should say. And that was a big chance for Army to get something out of this game. But at the moment, it's still a clean sheet for Maharlika. Here were the goals in the first half. This was in the second minute from Maharlika. It was Kim with the long shot, and it flew into the top corner. No chance for the goalkeeper. That was the way things started this afternoon. On only the second minute, then just a few minutes later, it was Ibrahim's turn to get on the score sheet. Works the space and then hits the roof of the net to make it 2-0. Eventually, it also became 3 as Maharlika kept on knocking on the door and eventually found their third. But chances also came on Army's end, but they weren't able to convert. I think here was a lot of set pieces for Maharlika, and here was the third goal. It was a pinball in the penalty area before the ball eventually bounced out to Kim, who lashed it into the back of the net. That is why it is 3-0 to Maharlika. But as I mentioned, Philippine Army did have chances, and they had big chances too in that first half. Here was another one, but the shot, I think it just flew wide because it was not a clean contact. It was actually a lot of chances in that first half for Nico Palacio, who looks to be Army's best outlet at the moment. Again, a lot of fluidity and a lot of attacking play for Maharlika. Here was the penalty conceded by Mike Menzi, but it went wide. And that was the biggest chance for Army to get their first goal of the season. Utara, to be fair to him, also guessed the right way. So it was a good moment there also for the Maharlika goalkeeper, I should say. That is why, as things stand, it is Maharlika 3-0. And that is the current standing in our 23rd match of the 2025 to 2026 Philippine Football League. Here are the stats. Alex, do you have anything to say about these stats which are heavily favoring Maharlika?
Yes, with Maharlika, especially with Park and Ibrahim, they were able to make those attempts, go towards the side, bring it to the middle inside the penalty area, and really just go for those aggressive shots and aggressive attacks that went straight to the top bins of the goal. And as you can see, Maharlika, true enough, a dominant attack with 16 shots in comparison to Army with just 6 and 13 on target, while for Army 0. And I feel like with these kinds of things, you can really say that Army, they are able to bring it to their final attacking third, but it's really about taking into account their build-up and their teamwork towards that final third and that clinical finish. Yun nga, especially with Nico Palacio. Kasi marami siyang nasayang na attempts, but it does show that they are able to do this.
For Maharlika, it's been a good half so far. Could have been a goal conceded. And in the end, they keep that first half clean sheet. And they'll be very happy with the fact that they've made their goal difference positive, because before this matchup started, they scored 7 goals in the season. And they also conceded 7 goals. So they were at 0 in terms of goal difference. Today is a chance for them to bolster their goal difference. Again, their next match is also up against Valenzuela PB Mendiola, and they'll be saying to themselves that if they win today and they take a good result next week, it's a chance for them to finally build some momentum this season, because so far in this season, they've had 2 wins and 2 losses. So a little bit of inconsistency from the Maharlika side, but nevertheless, signs to be encouraged also, because those 2 losses did come against big teams. It came against Aguilas and Manila Digger. In those matches, they kept it close also. So Maharlika will be happy so far with this second half. They'll probably want to score more goals, but they have to be careful not to concede any also, because Army did create chances. Again, both teams are now out following the halftime interval. And there's actually going to be 2 substitutions for the side of Maharlika. It's going to be Uzoka coming on, along with, I believe that's Opong for Maharlika. Let's see in a moment for the confirmation as to who went off.
And coming into the second half, you can only hope that these two teams, especially for Philippine Army FC, made the necessary adjustments. There are a lot of notes that they can improve on. First, really, is the positional awareness, especially inside the box, and challenging their attackers, especially since Maharlika, they do have that height advantage in comparison to Army.
Yeah, a lot of chances via set pieces in that first half. As you mentioned, the height advantage, creating those chances for Maharlika. So Army, will they see or will they have the necessary adjustments in the second half?
Player number 19, Jerome Marzan, is replaced by player number 25, Daniel Opong. And Fahir Ibrahim is replaced by
And
player
there
number
we
11,
see the confirmation of the substitutions. It's Marzan and Ibrahim off for Uzoka and Daniel Romero Opong. So 2 changes to the Maharlika side. The Army side, on the other hand, no substitutions in the halftime break.
And lots of shoes to fill. Ibrahim, he was causing problems towards their backline. Talagang nag-aabang siya in between those defenders para hindi siya mabantayan. And he's so aggressive, especially when he's inside the penalty area. Talagang iniistorbo yung keeper as well as the center back. Something, one of the qualities that you do look for when it comes to an attacker.
Here's Aristorenas, goes out wide to Kim on a hat trick. Kim with the cross was unselfish, but you might have said that had he taken the shot, maybe a chance for the hat trick was on there. As you mentioned, Ibrahim scored in the first half, now on the bench. But that's now his 3rd goal of the season, so a good tally for him so far in this PFL. We'll get 45 minutes of rest, and it's going to be Chima Uzoka now up front as the number 9 for Maharlika. Chima Uzoka, of course, former Cebu player, now with Maharlika. Chance maybe here. Here's Park. Goes for the early cross and eventually finds its way into the back of the net. I think the goalkeeper got a touch on it, but
And it redirected inside the goal.
so whether or not this is an own goal or goal to Park will await confirmation, but nevertheless, it's 4-0, just 1 minute into the second half. So the perfect start to the second half for Maharlika and a nightmare start for Philippine Army.
This goes to show you can never relax. Even if it's just the first few minutes of the second half, you have to be ready.
Here is the quad vision replay. Again, there was the cross from Park. And yeah, it looks like the goalkeeper got a touch on it. But the touch actually redirected it into the back of the net. So it is a potential own goal, but nevertheless, it's Park who will get the credit for that. Again, he's been doing that the whole game. He is a defender. He's a left back. But he's been taking up those types of positions, and he gets rewarded for it today.
And what a deadly combination that is. A left back defender who attacks and is a lefty. Of course, he's been causing so much problems for Army.
And we actually had confirmation that it is an own goal. Here's Aristorenas through on goal. Better moment from De La Yard there, just claiming that loose touch from Aristorenas. But as I was saying, Park, actually, it was credited, just got confirmation as an own goal. But nevertheless, credit should go to Park for creating that chance. And if I actually remember correctly, in their game against Aguilas, he scored from a similar position. So it's something he's really good at and something Maharlika can take advantage of for the rest of the season. Chance maybe for Army. They go out left. No offside flag. Lucindo having to do defending, nutmegged, but he's bailed out by Ferrer, and Army win a corner kick. Again, Army might just be a little disheartened with the way they ended the first half because they missed that penalty. Here they are going the other way. Uzoka with his defensive duties winning back the ball, and that's going to be a free kick for Maharlika. So another chance goes away for Philippine Army. Yung Kang with time and space goes out wide to Kim. Kim taking on his defender. Step overs, cuts inside, finds Kang, but it's cut out by an Army player and eventually worked clear by De La Yarte.
And it's just easily collected by their center backs.
Army's goal difference currently stands at minus 35 after only 5 games. Not the best ratio for Maharlika. It's an improved goal difference so far. They're now at +4. Referee not allowing that free kick to be taken quickly. And there is some afters. Not too sure what happened actually. Anyway, it's going to be a free kick to Philippine Army in the 50th minute. Again, for Philippine Army, they've had the chances to score. Obviously, they had the penalty, but 2 big chances also came to Nico Palacio. So it's definitely in the cards for them to get a goal in this matchup.
Yes, I do say that it is very much possible for them. But right now, their main priority should really be in their defense. But now in this situation, it's kind of a flip. They're the ones taking this free kick.
Ball sent in and it's met by an Army player. It goes wide. There was actually a few Army players in the mix there. Free header. Unfortunately, for their sake, it doesn't find the back of the net.
It was a good height. First to the ball was Army. But it went too much to the left. Another sayang na attempt ng Army.
Chance maybe here. Long shot is taken from way downtown. That's not going to trouble Dini Otara. Again, Army have about 40 minutes plus stoppage time to get their first goal of the season.
In these past few minutes, it seems that they've been warming up. That's a back-to-back attempt from Philippine Army.
Again, despite all these attempts from Philippine Army, I still think Otara hasn't had to make a save. We saw in the halftime stats that none of the shots of Army were on target. I still think that's still the same now. Otara not really involved, mostly involved with the ball in his own feet. Here's Ferrer combining with Giganto. Not rushing things. Again, you have that luxury when you're 4-0 ahead. Ferrer, Giganto, oh good scoop. But he gives the ball away. Chance maybe for Army to go the other way. Good counter pressure. Still with Army though. Chance maybe here. Can they get numbers in the box? Here comes John Celis. Cuts inside, takes the shot, blocked by Mike Menzi. Chance is still on for Army. A lot of traffic in the penalty area, eventually worked clear by Maharlika. And Philippine Army actually have a player down, so it's not ideal. Currently down to 10 men, so the ball will go out of play. Chance there actually for John Celis. For a moment there, I thought he would be through on goal. Eventually, good defending from Mike Menzi to block that shot from Celis.
Really just clogging that penalty area. Wala talagang makaporma dun dahil sikip na sikip yung mga attackers that time.
Yeah, as you see here,
That's
a lot of traffic.
Maharlika defenders.
It was Enzo Lucindo that time with the tackle. So it's still currently a clean sheet for Maharlika. If they do keep a clean sheet, it would be their second of the season. Their first came in a 1-0 win against Don Bosco Garelli. And that was their only clean sheet so far this season. Youngsuk Kang goes for the switch, overhit, and that's going to be out for goal kick.
Not to mention, it is also a good sign if they do win this. They get that those 3 points, and they are up the standings. they do have a big chance to be part of the top 6.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they are currently 7th in the PFL table, but they're actually level on points with the teams currently in 6th and 5th, and they're only 1 point adrift of 4th place. So a win today would really help their case. And their next game is also against Valenzuela PB Mendiola, which for Maharlika would be a favorable picture to get another 3 points. Chance may be here for Army. They're in behind. Of course, no offsides on throw-ins. Throw on goal. Could this be it? Saved by Utara. The wait for the first goal still continues. Sayang.
Joshua Gatinao. He was by himself that time. If someone was there beside him, napasa sana. But it was a 2v1 situation also.
Chance may be here for Army. Yes! A goal for Philippine Army. Their first in 1 year and 4 months.
He gets it towards the back of the net. And that came from a beautiful first touch. No clean sheet for Maharlika in this game.
Well, Army finally, after knocking on the door way too many times, they get their first goal this PFL season. And finally, for their sake, they're on the score sheet. And it was actually a really good goal.
It was. That was a beautiful first touch. Came from the side. And he kicked it straight to the bottom left of that goal.
Jimwell Ariola now has the privilege of saying that he scored his team's first goal this season. And what a finish that was, because Dini Utara had no chance there. Here's Ozoka the other way. And it's going to be a goal for Maharlika. No foul called. Oh, and there's a lot of action here. The goalkeeper of Army is down.
I think it's only right to review what just happened. It hit the keeper's face. It bounced off of him. It went to a Maharlika player, and that Maharlika player decided to take that shot. And is it a goal?
Well, the goalkeeper of Philippine Army is still down, holding his head. And you can't really blame Maharlika there because there was no whistle, and you know, this, as the saying goes, you play to the whistle. The referee is now going to consult with his fourth official and linesman. I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. Again, we have no VAR in the Philippine Football League. Here's the replay. The ball was clipped into Ozoka. It was first touch from Ozoka, then his foot here. I think the ball bounced off the face of the goalkeeper, but that's not really a foul. And Aristorenas had an open goal. And there was a lot of action around the referee after that goal. So let's see what happens. The referees are consulting with each other. And we do not have a VAR system in the Philippine Football League.
The keeper's still down.
Looks like the goal has been given. So it's going to be 5-0 in favor of Maharlika. Aristorenas with the goal. But the goalkeeper is going to need some treatment here before the game restarts. But
That's correct, Diego. 5 for Maharlika and 1 for Philippine Army.
well, while they were still celebrating their first goal of the season, Maharlika took advantage of the fact that their Army asleep. The Army defense was still asleep, I should say.
Perhaps the Army players were arguing that their keeper was down when they made that attempt for Maharlika. But as you said, you do play by the referee's guidelines, by the referee's rules, which in turn leads to 5-1 in favor of Maharlika.
I think another thing the Philippine Army players are saying was that if it's a head injury, the game should stop. And it was a head injury to the goalkeeper, but it wasn't necessarily a foul because it was the ball that bounced off the goalkeeper's face.
Yes, and Maharlika's foot did go up, but not to a point where it is in level with the head of Army's keeper.
Well, Del Ariarte still receiving treatment, and the Army players still protesting their case. Army bench in particular are really stressed with what has just happened as the wind starts to pick up in the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Cool breeze now flowing across the field. But I think the game is finally ready to be restarted. Well, it looks like actually the coach of Army is calling his entire team. Well, the coach of Army, Ronel Henner, has called his entire squad to talk about what I'm not too sure, but it means that the game won't restart yet.
Maharlika FC by player number 10, Joel Aristoteles.
Well, it has been confirmed that the goal is 5-1. And we see the players going back towards their positions. We can only assume that Coach Ronel told his team to play on.
Well, after a long passage, the game will finally restart. But it looks like Army are really not happy with the way things went down. But finally, kickoff, and we're back in action here.
This is a pretty reoccurring pattern as well. Army being caught off guard. If it's not during the first few minutes, it's after those little moments that they have when it comes to their attack. After that goal, biglang ginulat ng Maharlika with their attempt, with their most recent goal.
Well, at 5-1, Maharlika finally re-established their 4-goal advantage that they had earlier on before conceding. And I think that incident also just took the wind out of Army because they were creating chances the opening moments of the second half. Here's Spark driving forward. Aristorenas. Spark goes down. Play continues. And no advantage, or rather advantage played and no foul. So play continues. Here's Army.
It's also such a big mind game when things like this happen after such a milestone of getting that first goal.
Well, frustrations are starting to boil over now for Philippine Army. And there's been a lot of physicality in the last few minutes now. So the referee just has to be a little bit careful that this game doesn't get out of control. That's not what we want in this scenario. And amid all the chaos, there will be a substitution for Maharlika. It's going to be Kintaro Miyagi coming on for Kim. So no hat-trick for Kim this afternoon, but nevertheless a goal, or rather 2 goals and an assist for Kim. So yeah, he makes a really strong case for man of the match.
Replacing player number 24, Miyagi.
We're also going to see 2 substitutions for Philippine Army. Maybe just to give them a little bit more energy for the rest of this match.
Substitution for Philippine Army. Player number 99, Ryan Desena is
That's going to be Nico Palacio and Ryan Desena coming off for Magarce and Roytian Bedia. So 2 substitutions in the 63rd minute for Philippine Army.
We did mention prior to this game that the player that we are watching out for is John Celis, but the person that's been making all of those attempts had been Nico Palacio. And now that he is subbed out, we can only hope that the player replacing him can fill his shoes.
Army now. Oh, very
That's a
loud.
very intense contact.
But I'm going to be honest, I heard that from here, and I am at the highest point of the grandstand of Rizal Memorial. But
I heard that too, Diego.
well, here's the replay. Very late one from, I think that's Miyagi, right into the shin guard of his opposite player.
You can also see how his foot kind of bended backwards a bit.
It's now the third yellow card of this match for Maharlika, and their 8th this season. Free kick to Philippine Army. This match is really becoming physical the past 5 minutes or so. Oh, chance maybe for Army, but the volley is way over. Dini Otara really not happy with the fact that there was a chance near his goal. He's just telling his defenders that that was a bit too easy for his liking.
That would be the second time that I saw Otara really being vocal towards his defenders about the way that they're showcasing their aggressiveness. And I feel like being in line with Coach Moon's objectives is providing that challenge towards the Army attackers.
Chance maybe here for Maharlika. It's spilled by the goalkeeper, but it doesn't amount to anything. By the way, Army actually have a player down at the moment near the opposite penalty area. So they're currently down to 10 men. Referee will stop play for that foul, or for that player, I should say. I think that was from the earlier chance, the one that Otara was frustrated about. And Army are going to need some treatment on this player. I believe that's goal scorer Jimuel Ariola, who's down at the moment for Philippine Army. So another game stoppage. Imagine there's going to be quite a few minutes of stoppage time after the 90 because of how much minutes have been stopped due to injury and due to treatment for players on the pitch.
Also, this isn't the most ideal situation right now because Army, of course, they would want to increase their chances in their attack, but players like Ariola is down. We can only hope that his fellow attackers will be stepping up in these last few minutes of the second half.
Well, it looks like a substitution is being called back from the warm-up area for Philippine Army. So this might be the end of the day for Jimuel Ariola. He does get a goal to his name, and that's the first goal of Army season, but his afternoon will end prematurely in the 66th minute, as it looks like he can't even walk on his right knee. So we do wish him a speedy recovery. Well,
Even despite his condition right now, you can really say that he made an impact for Philippine Army FC today, being that first goal scorer for his team in this entire season. It does make a mark.
and it was a really good goal to open the score sheet for Army this season. It was a volley that flew into the bottom corner. No chance for Dini Otara. And that is why Army finally off the mark this season. Sliding tackle there from De Guzman. And there's the substitution. It's Renz Paul Gulumban coming on. And Army finally back to 11 players on the pitch.
Jimuel Ariola is replaced by player number 90, Renz Gumban.
Aristarenas off a loose pass. Looking for Uzoka, but the pass was weak. Delariarte takes no chances, just goes long. Menzi.
And a very composed Maharlika. And not that much pressure from Army.
Oh, here's Uzoka through on goal. Uzoka! And it's out for a corner kick. In the end, it was a good block. I think that was I'm not too sure who got the block, if it was the goalkeeper or the center back, but either way, Uzoka nearly getting on the score sheet there. In the end, it's just a corner kick for Maharlika, nearly making it 6 and nearly making their advantage 5 goals. Again, they have 20 minutes to add to the score sheet if they are to do so. Here's a corner kick. Ball will be sent in. It's an in-swinger. Met by De La Yarte, punched out. Here's Kang. Army, can they spring a counter-attack? They have some numbers here. Chance maybe for Army. Attack just slows down a little bit. Still on though. Substitute coming onto this. Good goalkeeping for Dini Utara. It was substitute Gumban nearly on the end of that through ball, but Utara, good read of the game from the veteran goalkeeper, it must be said. Early cross. It's going to be straight out for, looks like a throw-in. Utara will actually keep this in. Really away from his goal. No goalkeeper at the moment, but Maharlika is doing well to keep the ball. Oh, good play from Youngsuk Kang. Advantage from the referee. Miyagi. Going inside back to Kang. And Kang just slowing things down a little bit. Out wide once again for Maharlika. Here's Park. No one with him at the moment. He's going to work out the cross. Fake shot rather. Eventually the cross comes in. Straight to an Army player, but that was a good moment there for Park once again, the left back in an attacking position. Army, can they break through the pressure here? Eventually Maharlika just get back in numbers. Ball back with Maharlika. Here's Opong.
That was a pretty interesting decision, given that Maharlika's overloading there in the middle.
Chance maybe for Army to do something. Ball is played through, but Ferrer doing well to help out Lucindo there, making it a 2-on-1. And the attack eventually fades away for Army. Throw into Maharlika here. Again, 71 minutes, so just under 20 minutes now to go until the end of this one. It was goals in the first half, 2 from Kim and 1 from Ibrahim that made it 3. And then in the second half, it was Park and then an own goal, or it was an own goal rather, not from Park. And then 1 from Aristorenas, which made it 5. The lone goal from Army so far came from Ariola. That is why it is currently 5-1. If you're just tuning in, again, I'm your commentator, Diego Cordero, alongside Alex Lagman for this opening matchup of today's triple header. Ferrer clipping it through. Uzoka. Still Uzoka takes the shot with his left foot straight to De La Yarte. Chance for Giganto, blocked. And it's going to be a corner kick. De La Yarte unable to catch that shot from Uzoka. And he was bailed out in the end by his defender. There's going to be a substitution also for Maharlika. It's Earl Japet Pinheiro coming on for Youngsuk Kang. So a good performance from Kang in the midfield today. And his performance didn't get a goal or assist, but a lot of credit must go to him for being able to keep Maharlika's possession and attacks going fluidly. Corner to Maharlika. Tried to go short, but no one was there. Here come Army. Army
Gives it down the line. This time it's 3v1.
As you mentioned, 3v1. The numbers game just paving way there for Maharlika. Actually, good tracking back there from Opong, because that Army player was nearly through, but Opong made the sprint to recover his team. Here come Army. Chance for a cross maybe. Cross eventually comes in. blocked by Opong. And the following crosses straight to Aristarenas. Here come Maharlika. They have numbers here. It's 4-on-4, but the pass is slightly loose. So it's back with Army.
This is a chance for Army while the attackers of Maharlika are all the way up there.
Offside flag there up against Army. So that was another wasted opportunity to create something. And the ball will go back to Maharlika. Again, do stay tuned for today because we have a triple header. This is only our first match today. At 5:45, we have Valenzuela PB Mendiola up against Don Bosco Guerrelli. Then at 8:30, we have a heavyweight encounter between Stallion Laguna FC and Kaya FC Iloilo, a match that will have real title implications. Here's Ferrer. Good first touch.
This time Maharlika is really going for those direct balls, and that header was a close one.
Maharlika nearly making it 6 there.
But it was off target, but you have to give it to him. It was a close call.
Yeah, De La Riarte there wasn't able to get near that. So you must say if that header was on target, probably would have gone to the back of the net. Again, Maharlika started today's game with a 0 goal difference. It's now at +4 because of the scoreline. They'll be happy with that if things stayed the same. Here's Uzoka. Out wide. Good challenge. High pressure paying off for Maharlika. Crossed in. Header. Straight to De La Riarte.
We had to take 2 in that header.
Similar moment to the one earlier. This time De La Riarte makes the save as a foul is called against Opong and in favor of Army. Chance there for Maharlika to make it 6. Once again, here's the replay. Ball clipped in by Miyagi. The header, unfortunately, just straight at De La Riarte. And it's a routine catch for the goalkeeper.
Well, despite the scoreline, you can really tell that these two teams have shown excellent football. Of course, with Maharlika, with the way that they build up, they control the pace and maximize their playing area, really switching the play. Given the scoreline as well, maximizing their space and giving those pressing triggers. But even with the scoreline being 5-1 and Maharlika scoring during those first few minutes in the first half, it is a big improvement compared to Army's last game against One Taguig, in which it was 13-0, but now it is 5-1.
Chance maybe here for Maharlika. Here's Uzoka. Giganto with the shot, and it falls to a Maharlika player. No offside flag, but it's blocked, and it's going to be a throw-in after all of that. But as you were saying, Alex, it is a slight improvement from the side of Army. But don't forget also, they had chances in the first half. They had 2 big chances to score in open play, and then they had the missed penalty. Again, they did score in the second half. But it could have been more than one for Philippine Army. Despite that, though, you must say that their defense has been pierced on multiple occasions by Maharlika. Again, for Army, the schedule is not ideal because their next game is actually against Stallion Laguna FC. So that's against another big team in the PFL. Here's Opong. Combining with Park. Again, Maharlika are in no rush now, given the scoreline. So they can just play patiently. Here's Mike Menzi. Lucindo. Out wide. Miyagi. Uzoka. Uzoka, still Uzoka. No foul called by the referee, so the play will continue in favor of Army.
And a great challenge from Army at that.
Chance maybe now for Army to cross the halfway line. Maharlika in the end do well to get back in numbers and eventually win back possession.
Army really are trying to go for that build-up and for that point-to-point setup. But with that slow decision-making, Maharlika was able to retrieve that ball again.
Can just see also fatigue is starting to settle in into the Army ranks. Can just see that they're a little bit sluggish at the moment in terms of their movements. Maharlika, on the other hand, still controlling the game and still controlling possession. Again, it must be said that they've controlled all aspects of the game in terms of Maharlika's game plan today, tactically, and they've also outran and out-strengthened their opponents. Chance may be here for Park, eventually crowded out by Philippine Army. Again, just under 10 minutes now, or just over 10 minutes rather, before the end of this one. Maharlika in the commanding lead, and it could still get worse for Army, but a foul is called here against Maharlika. Again, the wind is starting to pick up here in the Rizal Memorial Stadium. The conditions for football are excellent at the moment, wherever you may be. Again, do continue to watch the games here on the We Are PFL channel. That you can find it on Facebook and YouTube. Again, don't forget to use the hashtag We Are PFL. And if you want to come to the games in person, all games for the first round will be played here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Tickets can be bought online or on the venue. And actually, I really like the ticketing system because if you buy a ticket for one game, it now applies to all of the games that day. So do come down to Rizal Memorial Stadium if you can. Foul against Maharlika. Chance for Army to do something maybe. They go out wide. Park now having to do some defending.
They do have a better attacking position now, pretty widespread. But even so, great anticipation from Maharlika getting that ball.
Army now with possession again. Look like offside. It is. So the ball will go back to Maharlika, and I think the referee will stop the game for a little bit because there are quite a number of substitutions about to come on for both teams. For Maharlika, looks like they're going to be using their bench now. Same can be said for Philippine Army. Again, it's a long season, so you do want to rotate your squads whenever it's possible. Again, it's a double round robin, and then another round after that, so that's a lot of games for one season. So you do have to use your squad. Can't just use the same 11 the whole time, otherwise you will burn out some of your players. Here's Park, once again advancing down the left. Goes for the early cross. De La Riarte will collect and restart the attack for Army. Here's Celis. Again, high pressure from Maharlika. They've been doing that for the whole match. And eventually they're rewarded with possession once more. Here's Mike Menzi. Opong has Uzoka in front of him. In the end, he goes to Miyagi. A lot of space for Miyagi. Goes for the cross. Straight to an Army fullback. And it's cleared, but still with Maharlika. Aristarenas out to Park. Ferrer. Here's Uzoka through on goal. Uzoka straight at De La Riarte. chance there for the striker to get on the score sheet from the bench. Could have been 6 there for Maharlika. In the end, the shot straight at the goalkeeper.
At this point, a few minutes left for the second half. The main objective for Army really is to concede no goals anymore. It may be a challenge because in the previous minutes we've seen Army players going down.
Offside is called against Maharlika here, so ball back to Army. But as you were saying, Army, it's their defense that has been plaguing them this season because they've conceded a lot of goals in only 5 games. And they have finally scored a goal, but in the defensive third, definitely needs some adjustments for the rest of this season. And in the last 5 minutes or so, it must be said that, as you said, Alex, maybe some more damage limitation for Army. Maybe if they can squeeze in an consolation, I should say, would be good also for morale. As we finally get the substitutions that have been standing there for quite some time now. 2 for Army and 1 for Maharlika. For Maharlika, Park is going to go off after a really good afternoon. And in his place is coming Mendoza.
Substitution for Philippine Army.
Then for Army, we have Belgira and Lunaspe coming on for Bernardo and Palacio.
Here is replaced by player number 26, Belgira. Substitution for Philippine Army, player number 21, Roy Bernardo, is replaced by player number 14, John Art Lunaspe. Substitution for Maharlika FC, player number 99, Park Su, is replaced by player number 30, Tristan Mendoza.
Well, as things stand, Maharlika will go up the table. They will now have 9 points if the result stays the same. And at 9 points, that puts them in a really good position into the top half of the table. Again, they will leapfrog the teams currently in 6th and 5th and 4th. So that puts them in a good place for their next matchup against Valenzuela PB Menjola, which you have to say they are also favorites for. So it's a chance for Maharlika to build some real momentum now going into the busy part of the season. Foul in favor of Army. Here's John Celis. Good tackle from Opong. Switch of play from Maharlika. They can start an attack from this. Here they come. Chance for Maharlika, and it's just wide. I think it came off an Army player. It's going to be a corner kick. Good first involvement from John Tristan Mendoza.
That was a very smooth transition towards that attacking third. A beautiful left cross.
Yeah, and it came
Pero
off.
medyo nakapos onte.
It came off the defender Villaseñor, and it could have gone anywhere. Very risky moment there. Could have been an own goal. In the end, it's only a corner. Maharlika have 3 minutes plus more to add to their scoreline.
Perhaps that's something that they can learn from Park. Really just placing the ball in between. That was by just a few inches, and now he gets a cramp. But let's see that replay. There goes that cross. Bounces off. Tries to go for that one touch.
That was center
And he
back.
goes down.
That was the center back, Enzo Lucindo, in a striking position. Looks like a little bit of cramp, and he will be okay to continue.
You do have to make sure that your center back is okay, because you can't just substitute them, because they are the pillars of the whole team. And given the cramps just after that contact with the ball, I think it's safe to assume that maybe he did not lock his foot, and perhaps it did lead to what happened just then.
Looks like he will be okay to continue. So the play will restart momentarily, though Maharlika will have to play with only 10 players. And they'll be very happy with how this afternoon has gone. 5-1 up, the dying moments of the game. Again, for Maharlika, they've said that their aim is to finish in the topper rank in the PFL. They want to finish in the top 4, is what they said specifically. At the moment, a result like this will put them in a good position. And Enzo Lucindo is allowed back onto the field. So Maharlika will be back to 11 men. Oh, misplaced pass from Opong. Straight to an Army player. Let's see if Army can double their score. Chance maybe here. Straight to Dini Otara. And I think Dini Otara doesn't want to concede any more goals. You could see how frustrated he was after he conceded the first. At the moment, it looks like no clean sheet, but it looks like it'll only be 1 goal for this one. Opong down the left.
4 minutes of added time.
4 minutes of stoppage time as confirmed by the 4th official. Aristarenas, Miyagi, Opong. Offside called there against Maharlika. Again, for Maharlika, they'll be happy with their first 5 games of the season. Again, they did pick up 2 losses against Manila Digger and Aguilas UMAC, but those were close games. In fact, they actually took the lead against Manila Digger, who are the team currently on top of the table. So they'll be happy with their performances, it must be said, so far this season. They've actually scored in all of their games. So that is a record that they'll continue after today's match. Oh, strong challenge there. And it's going to be a free kick for Maharlika. I think there's no debate about this one. It's a foul. Here's the replay. Good running. And the foul. Really obviously a foul.
The aim was really towards the leg, and rightfully so, the call is a foul.
Good play there from Earl Japet Pinheiro. But he might have just been hurt from that play. Referee opting not to give a yellow card for that one. But nevertheless, it's a free kick in an attacking position for Maharlika, so they have a chance to get their 6th of the match.
As much as it is important to protect yourself, players also do have to consider to practice the way that they fall, just so to not aggravate the injury. This time it is a free kick. They do have that height advantage. Let's see what kind of free kick they'll be delivering.
Aristarenas with the outswinger, sent into the box. It's Mike Menzi nearest to it, but punched away by De La Yarte. And just under 2 minutes now until the end of this one. Overall, it has been a really good afternoon for Maharlika. The only stain might be that conceded goal, but nevertheless, the 3 points is the most important thing following this matchup. Zoka eventually crowded out. The ball will actually go back to Army.
Still lots of fire from the Army players. Really going for that challenge when trying to get that possession.
Again, you just feel like perhaps after conceding that 5th goal, Army just lost a little bit of that morale and a bit of their energy. And ever since then, it's just been one-way traffic in favor of Maharlika. Here's Celis. Last 40 seconds of this one until the full-time whistle.
Something else that Army can learn from Maharlika is the way that they switch their play. A lot of their players are available towards the sidelines, but they aren't able to connect because they do prefer going towards that point-to-point setup.
The referee looking at his stopwatch and has the whistle to his mouth. So there you have it. It is full time here at the Rizal Memorial's Football Stadium. Match number 23 of the 2025 PFL season concludes with Maharlika taking the win. It's Maharlika 5, Philippine Army 1. Goals from Kim twice, one from Ibrahim, an own goal, and one from Aristoreñas make it 5 for Maharlika. The lone goal from Philippine Army, their first of the season, came from Ariola in the second half. But nevertheless, the 3 points go in favor of Maharlika. It's been the good afternoon for Maharlika, and they put themselves in a good position in the league table.
The final score of this match is Maharlika FC 5 and Philippine Army FC 1.
And for Maharlika FC, they take this win and move on to next week's match against Valenzuela PB Mendiola. For Philippine Army, yes, they did get their first goal, so that is a little win, a small silver lining for them. But their next match is against Stallion Laguna FC, so it's back to the drawing board for Philippine Army. Here were the highlights from the second half. Here was Sparks' cross that turned into an own goal from De La Yarte. Then after that, Army actually did get their first goal of the season. Ariola chesting it down and finding the bottom corner. So that is why there's no clean sheet today from Maharlika. But just a few moments later, it was another chance for Maharlika, and they got this goal, open goal for Aristoreñas, a volley into the back of the net, and that made it 5-1 in favor of Maharlika. So that was a good afternoon in general, and they'll be happy with the way things went this afternoon.
It's going to be between Valenzuela PB.
Again, do stay tuned for today's matches. This is only the first of our triple header. Our next match is at 5:45 p.m. That will be between Valenzuela PB Mendiola and Don Bosco Garelli United. And then stay tuned again after that, because at 8:30 p.m. we will have Stallion Laguna FC against the defending champions, Kaya FC Iloilo. So don't go anywhere just yet, because we have more in action.
Man of the match, all I could do is thank all my teammates, because together we really played as a team. From start to finish, I think the team dominated, despite the goal conceded, which we were really upset about. But overall, very happy with the performance of the team.
Is there anybody you would like to shout out?
I'd like to shout out our management, from the head coaches to the CEO, for putting us together, and I hope going forward we can get more results as a team. Thank you.